Dude, when it comes to One Piece, there's just no one I find cooler than the Yonko. Like, I'm telling you, it just does not get any better than those guys. And I honestly couldn't really tell you which set I like more here, like the original 4 or the modern 4. All of them are just so incredibly powerful and important. Especially at the current point of the story, because as we got official confirmation for in chapter 1121, the 4 Yonko are actually the 4 frontrunners when it comes to who out of all these people is actually going to be most likely to claim the legendary One Piece treasure. And at this point, we all really know that all of them have been pretty much gunning for it ever since Shanks declared it was time for him to claim it. But that's actually something that I wanted to focus on properly today, because we all know that there's probably going to be some sort of epic clash on or at least after Laugh Tale to claim the One Piece, and let's just say that the odds are pretty high that one of the Yonko members will be the one to finally get their hands on whatever it ends up being. But what are each of the 4 actually gonna do with the treasure? Remember, Roger said that whoever claims the One Piece will have wealth, fame, and power, but all of that stuff can be used in many different ways, of course. So let's try and figure out exactly once and for all what the 4 Yonko are actually planning to do if they claim the One Piece and become Pirate King. And I mean, who knows, maybe I might have smuggled in some other people's true intentions who are aiming for the One Piece as well later on in this video too. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Gonna have to wait and see. Now honestly, I do feel like I should probably kick things off here though with the man closest right now to claiming it at this point, Red Hair Shanks. And I do hear what some of you might be saying, like, what do you mean Shanks? It's gotta be Luffy or Blackbeard here. But let's be real guys, after thinking about it a little bit more, it's definitely Shanks. Here are the facts right now. Shanks is a former member of the only crew in history to find the One Piece and almost went to Laugh Tale with them, but only stopped right beforehand thanks to Buggy's sickness. And in theory at least, this should give him a massive advantage because he knows generally where it is, but honestly, I'm kind of starting to think that Laugh Tale can move, or something even stranger than that, because Shanks also still needs to somehow find the poneglyphs, which he probably shouldn't really need if it was just a stationary location, right? Like, that part in particular just doesn't really fully add up to me in my mind yet, but oh well, we'll have to wait and see. And maybe that whale has like a set migration pattern that it moves along or something like that. I don't know. I hope we get like really freaky with it. But regardless, he still needs those special road poneglyphs to find the final island apparently, and he definitely has at least 3 out of the 4. Because we do know that he just straight up took the rubbings from Kid after he one-shot him, meaning that he's at least on par with all the others, but I also have this sneaky suspicion that the final road poneglyph might be on Elbaf, and seeing as Shanks was just there after he said that he was gonna claim the One Piece, I would say it's pretty likely that he has all 4 rubbings already and might just need someone to translate the 4th one for him as well. So that means we can now finally ask the question, what does Shanks wanna do with the One Piece? Well, in my opinion, there's one pretty safe bet here. This dude wants to just crush Blackbeard, and if the One Piece can do that, you better believe that Shanks would probably use it to blow that dude off the map once and for all. Now, just to be completely fair, I would probably do the same thing if someone gave me a massive scar on my face, even if it does make me look a lot cooler than everyone else around. But no, for real, Shanks literally can't stop trying to defeat Blackbeard at this point. Remember, he first wanted Whitebeard to take care of his son, then he threatened him at Marineford, and has now been just constantly tracking his every move. Really, Shanks at this point is kind of like this clingy ex-girlfriend, and Blackbeard is the one who got away, but like, don't worry Shanks, you'll have your time soon enough, I think. Like, don't worry, at the pace that Oda's going right now, you'll probably get him back in no time. And speaking of getting him back, there's actually another group that Shanks may want to take down at this point in the story as well, which are the Holy Knights. Now really, this one is more of a logical guess, but considering that Shanks' father is a member of the Gorosei now, like, Shanks might have a pretty good reason to take out the world government as well. Now, of course, want to note that Shanks hasn't so far really taken a super strong stance against the Celestial Dragons in the series, but they do seem to somewhat be his foils, especially with Shamrock now. They, of course, hate the lowly people of the world, and Shanks will literally protect anyone who is weak and needs protection. We also now know that Shanks did have the chance wants to go back up to Marijoa, and he did that once before, but then at some point, of course, chose to come back down and start his own pirate crew. So maybe he's just got some pent-up feeling towards his family, and once he finds out dear old daddy is in charge, he will finally go take them out once and for all. But that being said, I actually think that there's a very different Yonko who wants to destroy the Celestial Dragons way more than Shanks, and so I feel like we can just shift to talking about him right now. Blackbeard, who wants to just straight up, I think, conquer the entire world, and the only people standing in his way, or I guess standing where he wants to stand, are the Gorosei and Imu. How do I know this? Well, it was literally confirmed in chapter 1107 right here at the end. I mean, look, Van Augur literally just tells Saint Saturn that his captain, Blackbeard, wants to conquer the world. And really, it makes a lot of sense. That was, of course, Roxy Zebek's goal as far as we know, according to Sengoku at least, and Blackbeard is pretty much just Rox 2.0, like Electric Boogaloo. Seriously, this guy named his flagship the Saber of Zebek, like, that's about as obvious as it gets, I think. Like, that's the same reason why I named my car the Spear of Dua Lipa, because it's just what cool people do when they want to pay tribute to their hero, right? So, the real question we should be asking is, why does Blackbeard want to become Pirate King to rule the world, and how will the One Piece actually allow him to do that? Well, for one, it is set to bring wealth, fame, and power, and if you wanted to rule like an entire planet, you probably need pretty much all of these things and a lot more on top. My personal theory right now, at least since we got the big mural reveal in chapter 1138, is that Blackbeard might be a descendant of Imu and sees it as his birthright to rule the world based on how history has been panning out. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Imu seems to have literally ruled the world for centuries or even millennia at this point, as far as we can tell. At least that's how I would say that the Harley and the mural depict them. Like, we do see the big Imu figure here depicted on the left, we see a small Imu-like figure with a crown depicted on the right, and we do know that Imu rules the world at this point. And if Blackbeard wants to rule the world as well, Imu, logically, is the one person that he'll have to beat. I mean, maybe Blackbeard already knows about the Eternal Flame, or maybe Imu has a final third devil fruit that Blackbeard's trying to steal. Like, all of these would be pretty perfect reasons to claim the One Piece, as the power and fame could help him overthrow the current government. So let's be honest, it's probably even more complicated than just that. Like, this G here moves in silence like lasagna, and he's constantly making secret plans to do something really big, something that Oda is still waiting to reveal, I think. And if it mirrors Roxy Zebek's plan, there may be even something massive that the One Piece reveals as well. Now, what that thing is, I'm not 100% sure. I do like the idea kind of though that Imu may be hiding a massive secret from the world, and that defeating them is actually a bad idea potentially. I mean, Imu may be the lesser of two evils for all that we know, and is keeping something really secret that Blackbeard and Roxy Zebek wanted to unleash or reveal to the entire world. It could be the truth about a massive creature like the Hellflame Serpent, or I mean, it could also just be something straight up super wild like the truth of the One Piece universe for all that we know. Like, we could go really weird with it. To me, it just kind of seems like Blackbeard has the most specific goal of claiming the One Piece out of everyone, and that he really thinks that he is destined to do this. To me, that's probably why Whitebeard tried to make it very clear in his dying moments that Teach wasn't Roger's successor in his opinion. He really wanted to push him away from being like his former captain and his former rival. But do you know who could actually be Roger's successor? You actually, but to do so, we'll have to find the Final Road Poneglyph, which I definitely have hidden in my Patreon actually. I totally do, so you'll have to just go over there to uncover it and claim it for yourself. It's actually kind of hidden beneath all the cool perks here. Ignore those, like, I don't know, custom artwork we use in the videos and exclusive access to early and extra content. I mean, like, look past that and there's the Poneglyph. Actually just started a new Patreon exclusive show where I help break down your own fan theory. So if you're curious, go check it out and submit your own theory so I can actually help you become a great One Piece theorist as well. Alright, but with that shameless plug and the two frontrunners out of the way, I want to now actually shift it over to my personal favorite Yonko, Buggy. Now, the dude is literally so out of his league at this point and has no logical chance of getting to Laugh Tale, and honestly, to me, that is exactly why I'm pretty much certain at this point that he is actually gonna make it there. But, like, how would that actually help him? Like, what does he want to do when he gets there and becomes Pirate King? And honestly, I kind of think that this one might be the most clear-cut and simplest answer out of all of them. Like, the dude just wants wealth and fame more than anything else in the world, and the One Piece and becoming Pirate King would very much bring that to him. Shanks and Blackbeard? I mean, Pirate King isn't even properly on their radar. Like, they have way different and way bigger goals, but Buggy? Like, he pretty much spelled it out for us the very first time that we met him. He wants treasure, and he wants to be the Pirate King, the most respected top dog. And he still does want that, and that's why he's going for the gold, quite literally. The gold Roger's treasure, which we just assume, at least in parts, is gonna have some riches as well. But since I kind of breezed through that entire segment, I do want to talk for a moment about why I quite genuinely am convinced that Buggy might just be the most likely person at this point to claim the title and the One Piece at the end of the story. Because if you haven't noticed so far, Buggy kind of sucks. And he sucks so much that he actually is incredibly successful in the end. Like, the dude accidentally just keeps falling upwards into becoming a warlord, then a Yonko, and to me the pattern here is pretty obvious. Like, he's gonna do the same thing and become Pirate King. And Oda absolutely loves Buggy. That's something we know for a fact. And it would also be kind of poetic for his story because he wanted to sail the seas with Shanks when they were younger. He was the kid who truly wanted to follow his brother to the end and help Shanks become the greatest, but Shanks just said no. Instead, Shanks left him to fend for himself and went on to do something much, much greater in the end. Now, I personally am a strong believer that Shanks was actually entrusted with some really big and important plan by Roger to create and guide the next Joy Boy, and that just kind of leaves Buggy as the reject child of the entire Roger crew. Like, if you want to go that direction, you could say that he is a clown in everyone's eyes, and well, I guess also just a literal clown as well. But I do kind of mean it in that mean sense where he isn't valued as anything great. You get my idea. So what better way to make an example of everyone else and their doubts than for Buggy, the dude that we all thought was an idiot from the very first time we met him, like 10 chapters in, to actually end up as king of the pirates above everyone else? To me, that just would be the perfect capstone to his entire story. Now, does that mean that I think Luffy won't claim the One Piece and become Pirate King? Of course not. He definitely will as well. I just think that Buggy will either go first or Buggy will get the title even though Luffy did it himself. And Oda's just gonna hit us with the greatest joke of all time. Which now of course leaves us next up with Luffy. So let's talk about what I think is in store for Luffy, the One Piece, and his true dream. Now for starters, we can kind of cross off the very clearly established things that Luffy's gonna do with the One Piece itself. Luffy said that he wants to claim it so that he can become the Pirate King, who is just, in his opinion, the most free person in the world. So his biggest goal is to claim it and become super free and kind of fulfill his hidden dream that we still don't know about. Now, kind of between you and me, we also know at this point that he's definitely gonna use it, whatever the One Piece really is. I mean, to take down Emu, like, we're gonna need something big. It's literally what the story has been setting up for nearly like 30 years at this point, and over 1,000 chapters. We pretty much all agree, I think, that the One Piece is gonna hold some great ties to Joy Boy, Nika, and as a result, Luffy's true power as well. And it doesn't really matter if it's an afro or a comic book or a giant weapon that, you know, press a button and destroy the entire Red Line. Whatever it's gonna be, it will help Luffy destroy Emu and their dreams and will hopefully bring forth a new era of prosperity and peace to the One Piece world. But as we mentioned, there is also something else that he wants to do. Like, he wants to do something really big, funny, and hilarious, at least according to his crew, Ace and Sabo. Yamato was actually the one who revealed that fact to us, and it's up to us now to figure out what Luffy's real dream is. Some people have speculated that Luffy wants to hold a massive worldwide party, or others have speculated it could be like a massive banquet with all of his friends. Now, me personally, I'm not so sure. I think it could also be a little bit grander than that. Like, it's definitely going to be quirky, but I could kind of imagine Luffy wanting to do something, you know, like making sure that no one in the world is ever hungry again. But Luffy's version of saying that could just be, you know, like everyone gets like limitless meat for life or something like that. It's definitely going to be something really heartwarming, I'm pretty sure. Or another one I really like is that Luffy's dream might just be going to the moon, and in order to go to the moon, you might need to be the freest person out there. just another thought. But with that covered, I can now shift into talking about all of the other possible One Piece conquerors, because if I didn't make it very clear earlier, just because the YONKO are legitimately the frontrunners here, that of course doesn't mean that there aren't tons of other characters with a real chance to take the One Piece, and they are going for it. And to make it a bit easier, I've broken all of them down into a few categories that I think make it pretty simple based on their goals stated in a series. So let's start with the first group, the Revolutionaries. And on the big epic Claim the One Piece double spread that we got in chapter 1121, two of the people who seem to have really good chances, according to Oda, at getting Roger's treasure are Monkey D. Dragon and Sabo. And I gotta say, I kind of feel like they do honestly have a pretty good shot at using it as well, just because Luffy doesn't actually care probably what it's gonna be. I could definitely see a world where it's a super cool, powerful ancient weapon or the Eternal Flame, and Luffy just goes, yeah, you know, alright, I didn't really need that, go ahead and take it, Dad. You probably know what it's for, something I'm gonna have some meat now, like something like that, and that's just how it switches into Dragon's hands. Or maybe Sabo swoops in and saves Luffy, and so in return he just gives it to him for safekeeping or something. Regardless how it plays out, these guys definitely want to destroy the Celestial Dragons with whatever the One Piece is, if it can be used to destroy them. I mean, honestly, it's kind of the one thing that we do know for sure that the Revolutionaries want to absolutely do, as I really can see a world where the wealth and fame part is super important to them. It's really all about that power to destroy the Heavenly Dragon people. Speaking of which, two of those guys are actually also on deck trying to claim the One Piece, it turns out. Figgle and Garling, and what does very clearly appear to be Figgle and Shamrock, are also depicted here in this panel as people with a really good chance at getting the One Piece. Now, I will say I personally kind of think it's highly unlikely, since they are new endgame players in the series, recently revealed, and it would kind of feel a little bit odd for them, out of all people, to be the ones who take it after all these other people spend so many chapters hunting it. But that of course doesn't mean that Oda is not gonna do it, and also it does mean that we can't just imagine what they would do if they were the ones who found it. Now, in my mind, the answer is pretty much re-subjugate the entire world. I mean, Garling was introduced to hunting people like animals, that was his entire stick, and Shamrock is literally trying to steal giant children in an effort to force the giants into joining the world government. If I had to put it in sports terms, I would say that these guys are playing a heavy offense to take over the world for good, and I do have a feeling that the One Piece would absolutely allow them to do that, even if it was just a psychological move, whereby stealing the One Piece can just straight up crush the hopes and spirits of all the remaining pirates trying to get it. But of course, dreams aren't just for pirates. No. In fact, there are two really good-hearted Marines that are also fairly close to taking the One Piece, according to Oda at least. We're talking Kobe and the former Admiral Kuzan, who are seemingly final candidates too, and their goal, I think, is quite straightforward as well. I think it's guaranteed that both of them would absolutely use the power of this mythical, epic treasure to try and fix the Marines and the world. Like, they're both people who time and time again have made it very clear that the system seems really broken for them, and they want to be the ones who fix it. That's of course why Garp was the one who took both of them on as disciples in the first place, and I do have to admit, I do think it would be kind of pretty sick to see Garp's students use his rival Roger's treasure to fix the entire system that Garp couldn't for his entire life. Like, very unlikely, but it would be a pretty cool case of irony. Unfortunately, there are two people who probably don't want to fix the system, but would rather use the One Piece to maintain it as it is. And they are the Fleet Admiral Akainu and Imu themselves. They're kind of both characters obsessed with keeping the world in the dark and ruling through absolute power and justice, although I will say Akainu has made some interesting moves recently, which make me question if this is going to stay that way forever, but for now it's true. And the best way to do this, of course, would be with the One Piece, as its status and power seems to be so unbelievable that Joy Boy and Roger felt like it was necessary to keep it incredibly hidden and make sure that it stayed safe. So if either Akainu or Imu actually got a hold of it, I'm pretty sure that they'd be able to unleash hell upon the rest of the world. And speaking of unleashing hell upon the world, I do think Imu might just be able to do that already. Now, why do I think that? Well, the Celestial Dragons and Shamrock seem to have incredible, weird, powerful demon abilities, and they do seem to tie directly to Imu. And well, I kind of think that that's because Imu is literally the embodiment of the underworld and uses incredible dark magic and demonic powers to rule the entire One Piece planet. Oh, And if you say that that does not make sense to you, well, that just means that you haven't checked out my video right here breaking it down. So click here, check it out. I think it's gonna be pretty fun to watch if you haven't yet. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much again to all the Patreons. If you're already a Patreon, really, your support makes this channel, and it's so much fun creating content for you guys like over there as well. And if you are thinking about it, you know, just go over, check it out, see what we got there if it's for you, and hopefully I'll see you there. And otherwise, I will see you in the next video, and I'm gonna be checking out now. All right, goodbye.